Because I think it's really enriching for the children. I think they have an opportunity to be themselves in the classroom, and they're learning about having their own voice and being able to voice their opinions in a controlled and safe environment, but they're also able to express themselves to their full potential. So you're getting the best of both worlds, having the control but also having the self-expression at the same time. I think they're learning to accept other people for who they are. There's, particularly in this area where the school is based, they have a lot of issues socially with different people because they're different, and they're starting to get that just because they're different doesn't mean that they are a horrible person or a nasty person, and they're learning to open up and open their hearts and be kind to others and just be friendly and good individuals, really. Well, I had one girl who came to see me yesterday, or the day before, and she'd been having some problems with some girls in her year. And I basically had said to her, look, remember what we discussed in Loving Classroom on a Friday, so just be kind to them and accept them, because they could be just having a bad day and they sometimes need someone to be kind to them and show them kindness, and then they'll respond with kindness back. And if you go in negatively, then they're going to be negative as well, and it's not going to go very far. It's like that story with the who shouted first and why did they shout first, and happy people don't shout and stuff. So she went back out and she spoke to them and she was kind, and then they were kind back and it was resolved. And she said, like, it's good advice and stuff, and she just was worried about it escalating, because normally it would with her, but it just showed that those practices do actually work, so it's good. So most of the students, when they wrote the letter, when I first initially said to them, think of someone who makes you mad or frustrated, they were all like, you can tell when they're scribbling, and they're really fiercely scribbling because they feel very mad. And then when we did the reflection exercise and we looked at the pictures, and their mood changed, and suddenly they went from talking to each other and scribbling furiously to silent and quiet and slow writing, and it was really reflective, and the energy in the room shifted. And then I'd said to them, how was that different? And they said they were able to express their feelings, but in a positive way, and say, although you've upset me, you are my best friend, you are very kind, and you are very funny, and these are the positive things about you. And although we've gone through a lot, I still love you, I still care about you. And it was great to see that side of them where they were very honest and open, and they were able to say, although I'm hurt and I'm sad, I still love you the same, that doesn't change. And as soon as I mentioned the two letters with the dad situation, they were like, oh, that's like my letter, that's what happened with my letter and stuff. A few of them were quite shy to read out their letters, but they were able to express the emotion behind it, which I thought was the principle of the exercise anyway, and that they were able to show the difference in the writing style just from having that moment of reflection and having that quiet time to really feel relaxed and happy. So it was a great exercise, and it really showed the split difference between just even watching the children writing their letter, going from scribbling mad on their book to like being really neat and tidy, so it was good. Well, we kind of, what I'm trying to do at the moment is I'm trying to relate the project back to their local community, because I think that when they think about the bigger world and the wider world, our children, many of them haven't even really been out of Manchester before, so they don't know what the outside world is really like. So when you start relating it back to the community and you say, okay, you can make a difference, you can change the world, you just don't know it, and you don't know how to go about it, and you start talking about things that they're passionate about and they care about, and things that they feel fiery about, these discussions spark off, and they think, I really want to do a project, I want to do this. And some of them have started approaching senior members of staff saying, can we raise money for this, can we do an event for this, because I really care about it. And they're starting to take ownership for the things that they feel passionately about, and I'm hoping, and actually I'm confident, that that ownership and that passion will continue when they're adults, and they'll remember all the values that we've taught them and put them into place when they're adults and they're working and someone upsets them. They'll be able to think, happy people don't shout, so I'm not going to raise my voice, and I'm going to be kind, and we're going to deal with it in a positive way as opposed to screaming at each other. So I think it's going to be really beneficial for the future, I really do.
I'm really enjoying the Loving Classroom at the moment. I'm really enthusiastic about it because when I first received the PowerPoint, I did a quick run through of it so that I could refresh myself and remind myself of what questions the children might ask. So I did my research, but for me, I think it's more interesting the fact that I'm also learning along with the kids. So sometimes it's nice that I can't always answer the questions because we have a discussion about it, and then as a group we decide what we'd like to come up with instead of just the teacher that's always stood at the front of the classroom wheeling off what we're going to do, and that we can actually talk and sit down, decide whether that's a good answer or a bad answer. So like I really enjoy the things on the PowerPoint that especially are influential in our world now, especially in lesson 2 I think it was, when we was talking about the charities. I think the charities was really interesting, and especially because the kids weren't aware of like charities that got brought up like that, especially the Help the Children one, the Saving the Children. The kids were really interested in that particular charity for the fact that a child themselves had started up the charity, so that got a massive like engagement within the class, and they was really interested in it. So yeah. Yeah, because when they first started to come into the room, they sat in their friend groups and they sat like away from each other. But then, like I found today, especially like we've just come back after half term, like the tables were a lot more mixed up than they normally are. Like people who used to sit on separate tables with their friends have now started to mix away. And although it's something really small and simple, like it's actually quite a massive change. And it was nice because every time I get them to do like a quick table discussion, it means that it's not always with the same people, and they're more focused on task then because they've got new opinions and new ideas brought to the table. So it was nice to see. The whole energy just is more calm, they're more relaxed, they're more engaged because they get to listen and they get to learn, and they love voicing their opinion, and that's what I like, the fact that they'll put the hand up and then they'll ask questions and they'll argue their points. And sometimes like it's been really nice because we've had people say one thing and somebody say something else, and it's a completely different discussion, and then at the end it's resolved, which is really nice. Like today's lesson, for example, when we did the car argument and what was the cause of the shouting in the car, one group of boys thought it was funny to go away and be like, it's always her fault, it's always the woman's fault. But then the girls actually sat down and really got into it and was like, well no, actually he was annoyed at himself, not her. And I was just like, that's really good. And then the boys were like, yeah. And then it was nice because I think they wanted to be silly, but they liked the fact that they got told the right answer, because then they thought about it and it was like, well yeah, that does make sense. But boys being boys thought that they were just being silly, but it was nice.